I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:02. And the first thing on the agenda is the call to order. I'm sorry, is the Pledge of Allegiance. And I was going to ask Mrs. Johnson to do that, but since she's not here, Mrs. Volkman, would you do it?
Oh, of course. I guess I have to stand. I'll stand and be a miniature. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United
States of America and
to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the next thing on the agenda is the recognition and participation of visitors and delegations. And do we have any? Are there any visitors or
No.
delegates? No? That's interesting. Okay. Well, then, my biggest challenge, I'm going to do it. Okay. This is for comments from citizens regarding agenda items and other subjects of concern that lie within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education. This is the portion of the agenda where the board welcomes the comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Board members will only ask questions to clarify the speaker's presentation and cannot respond during the comments of citizens portion of the board meeting. Citizens should state their names and addresses for the record. Do we have anybody?
I do not see any.
Okay. And I understand that there's not a student report.
Correct.
So is Mrs. Austin here yet?
Not yet.
Dr. Piazza, do you want to begin?
Sure.
Oh, that Danner is here. Well,
Yep.
let's,
I think we could wait until it's his time.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan's report actually starts with the enrollment comparison.
Oh, okay.
And we do have Tom here. I think he's going to share his screen, correct, Tom? So we could begin with that.
Good, thank you.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Tom.
Yes.
Perfect. So we wanted to kind of give an overall snapshot of what enrollment looked like this year and also discuss a little bit of the changes that occurred over the year. This snapshot takes place from 10/1 really to the end of the school year, 10/1 being the date that we report students as being a part of our district for the state of Connecticut. So that's why we use that as kind of the official start date. But to start and give some overall context, kind of a really interesting piece of balance from this year. Students who transferred out, so this is after October 1st and before the end of the school year, 375 students transferred out of Groton. A little over 2/3 of those were out of state transfers, so students transferring out of the state of Connecticut. So we can assume a large proportion of those were probably Navy families being redeployed. About 1/3 of those were in-state transfers, so some were, majority are New London, Norwich, Stonington, local areas, but anywhere within the state would be considered an in-state transfer. But then we also had 374 students transfer in. So we were a net -1 over the whole year, which is about as close to balance as you can get over the course of the school year. A lot of those are new incoming pre-K students, but overall our district remained really balanced throughout the school year in terms of our overall enrollment, which is really nice. We also wanted to show some overall context just in terms of the increasing diversity of Groton. So going back all the way to 2012, and this is looking at the elementary population. This is looking at the percentage of students who identify as non-white. So you can see there's been a substantial increase since 2012 of that proportion. And we are at the elementary level now for the first time, actually a majority non-white district for this year. This would be the first time of kind of officially looking at our enrollment in that way.
We didn't get those two screens, those things.
I know, I apologize. I
Okay.
added those with Susan and Phil today. I apologize for that.
That's fine.
Kind of my weekend project. I apologize.
We will send them out though. When
Thank
we
you.
send out the minutes, so you have the full.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Susan. Nice to hear your voice.
Susan, did you want to say anything before I continue? I know you didn't get to come in at the start.
No, I think that, we wanted to take a look at it both in the fall and the spring. And I would say the overarching goal for Groton Public Schools and the Groton 2020 is that we really want our classrooms and our schools to mirror this community. And while we've made a lot of gains with the magnetizing of our elementaries and the one middle school and one high school, when we get to the end, you'll see what a perfectly balanced school is. And we're even trying to get it better in the classrooms in those levels. But we still have some more work to do, but that's why we'll have a lottery every year. So Catherine Kolnowski is an example. And I would say that they have about 30% of students that are not in their neighborhood. So that we are bringing kids in from other parts of town and have been. So this was the fall data in October, the October 1 numbers, and then we can kind of show you how it compares. And they are white, non-Hispanic, hovering like 34, close to 35%. So we'd like to see that number get closer to the 48% mark that the rest of the schools are, but they have a little ways to go.
Yeah, absolutely. To Susan's point, there wasn't kind of a really, for the amount of turnover that we have in the district, there really wasn't any major shift within Catherine Kolnowski's enrollment. But to her point, our hope is to balance Catherine Kolnowski more. So Catherine Kolnowski has a higher proportion of non-white students than our district average at the elementary level. So we'd like to bring in, more balance to that building overall. And we can do that through the lottery system, as Susan's saying. We have a lot of demand at Catherine Kolnowski, but we don't have a lot of demand to leave Catherine Kolnowski. Most students want to stay there. And the only way we can open up seats at Catherine Kolnowski is if more students want to leave. So the biggest thing for us is to make sure that we're, also advertising those other schools, and we'll touch on that with NEA later on, to make sure that we have availability at Catherine Kolnowski to meet the demand that we have throughout the district.
Oh, Susan, I have a couple of questions about CK.
Go right ahead.
Well, when I know CK has a whole extra wing of classrooms compared to Northeast. They were built at the same time, and Catherine Kolnowski, it's a much bigger school, and yet their enrollment is much less. And when you say that there isn't room for more students to go in there, that's perplexing to me. Because it is down. I would love to see their class sizes. I'd like to see all the schools' class sizes as at, like June 1st enrollment. Because I just, I'm just curious as why their number is only 349 students. Northeast, which has one whole less wing, is 403.
And I don't know what the wing is that you're talking about. I remember there were additional classrooms at CK. I'd have to actually go see.
Well, when
myself.
they were building the two schools,
Mhm.
they ran out of money at Northeast. It was $20 million. So they lopped off a whole wing of the school and
Yeah.
did not build it. So because it was supposed to be exactly identical to Catherine Kolnowski.
Right. I
And
do
that-
remember
that
that
didn't
part,
happen.
that they were supposed to be the same.
Right, and that didn't happen. So
Yeah.
they have much fewer classrooms at Northeast Academy, yet there are many, like 50 more students. So I was just curious why.
So I
Tom's
would say
saying
they've
that-
been mostly pretty close through the years. The thing that is really nice about CK and NEA is they have the additional FTE in K and 1, which really gives us the opportunity to add more kids in. But we have to be very careful with that because we can't put a standard class of 22 in K and 1, because then when we go down to the 3 FTEs in the grades 2 through 5, you get too many students in the classroom. So it's a real fine balance, but we really monitor it very carefully all the way through the
But their
year.
enrollment has consistently been a lot less than Northeast Academy. And
Yeah, we'd have to take a
my
look at that.
question is what
Yep.
Tom said, that, well, there isn't room to add more there. I think there's a lot of room at Catherine Kolnowski to add more students. If you look at the number at Northeast Academy, which has far fewer classrooms. So
So-
that's something that I would like to see, the class sizes.
Okay, well, we'll look into that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will also say, just anecdotally looking quickly, I believe that they are the exact same number of FTEs. So you're not talking about any additional teachers at
No,
Catherine
I'm talking
Kolmaski
about
compared to Northeast
larger,
Academy.
larger class sizes versus smaller class sizes.
No, I agree, but I know, I guess my point was, it might be a physically larger building, but in terms of actual classrooms, it's the exact same in terms of FTEs.
Right, but it has many more classrooms than Northeast Academy. I'm not worried about the FTEs. I was talking about how many children will be in a class.
Okay.
The only classroom that I know is an additional classroom at CK is they do have a STEAM lab. So they have a classroom, but I will look at that more carefully and
Thank
get
you.
back to you.
Susan, I have a
Susan, can I
question.
ask a question?
Oh, Bev, go ahead. I
Um,
can't see anybody, so I can't see your hand.
No, with the screen.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Go ahead, Bev.
okay, thank you. What do you mean by Black, not of Hispanic origin? What's the purpose of that?
That's a state, those are state definitions, Bev. So they come from the Connecticut State Department of Education. That's how they're classified.
Mhm.
Tom, do you have a better answer than that for me?
Yeah, so that's students who identify as Black, but
I know
not
that,
as
but
Hispanic.
what's the purpose of saying Black, not of Hispanic origin? Why don't you just say Black, white, Hispanic, and you don't have any spot for other? Like
Well,
supposed to identify with Black and white. You don't have a place for two
Yep.
ethnic groups.
So there's a difference there. So there are different ways we report: the federal way and the state way. This is listed as the state way because of how we report to PSIS. So on federal, there are 2 or more race categories or other. Also, Hispanic is an ethnicity, not a race. So therefore, you can identify as Black and Hispanic. So this is separating that out. So if you identify as Hispanic, even if your race is Black, you'd be listed as Hispanic here, but not Black, if that makes sense. So it's just 2 different ways that we can report it, and I chose to report it in the state of Connecticut way, not the federal way.
And the state doesn't say anything about other or
Um,
two groups. Like I'm mixed, I'm Black and I'm white.
Yeah.
So you're making people pick what group they're gonna join.
So how the state of Connecticut looks at it is a primary. So you choose a primary or the first race you identify with or ethnicity you identify with, and then from there you can choose multiple. But this is just how they record it. So they list primary. With the federal, obviously, if you chose more than one, you'd go with 2 or more race category.
All right, that makes no sense to me. We should try to talk to the state about if somebody's mixed, even Black and Hispanic, they should be able to list both race. Why should I have to pick one race? A lot of parents complain about that they're forced to choose one race over the other when they have a father and a mother equal, but they have to choose a race. And, maybe that's something you all can talk to the state about.
Yeah, to be clear though, Bev, I just want to make sure you're clear. We're not limiting the family's choices. The families can report as much as they want. It's just how it's reported out in the state settings.
How old is this? How long has this been going on? This from the state in this way?
I can't answer that question as long as I've been doing this.
Have you been doing this?
So at least 10 years.
Okay.
So 10 plus.
We actually have the Connecticut State Department of Education team coming to speak with us on Friday. So we will add that to our list of things to ask them about. How about that?
Very good.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
And let me know the response that they give you.
I would certainly be happy to do that.
Thank you, Susan.
Is there anybody else who has questions or comments about this?
I think Dean had his hand raised.
I don't know, Dean, how I can't see you. So so Mark, I don't know, is there a way for you to,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, okay, no. I had my hand up before, so.
yeah,
all right.
yeah, and I can't see it, so I'm sorry.
That's all
Mark,
right.
can you let us know when their hand is up, please?
And I was
See the
muted, so
leader
that's
left.
partially my
Someone
fault.
stopped sharing the screen. Because I see the same things you do.
I see.
Okay, but can you at least hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, you can, the
There you
dulcet
go.
tones of my voice are what matter. All right, I've got a couple of questions. One is identity versus classification. Many, many, many years ago, I did a refi. I'll never forget. There was a woman, I think, in West Haven. And I was asked by the lender, because lenders are asked to collect statistical information. It was she was refining on her mortgage. And I was asked how I would identify the borrower. And the borrower was asked how she would identify. So there were two different stats that were collected. I'm in the room with a Black woman. So if you ask me what she was, she looks physically Black, right? That's how I would classify her if I have to classify her. So I check off Black, but she's from the Dominican Republic. She checks off Hispanic. So, whatever the government wants to do with that statistic. So I'm aware that people may be identified by others one way, but self-identify another way. And I'm curious as to whether these stats represent people's identifications or maybe the district's identification. So the district may be saying, that student is this, that student is that. But the students may identify differently. So are these numbers in line with how people identify? Or are they how the system has identified the kids? I'm not sure how the stats were gathered. That's my first question.
So that is by how the family self-identified at the time of enrollment.
They
So-
check the box off. Okay.
Yep. So how they check it off. So if they like I kind of said before, they choose a primary, way to identify, and then they can choose unlimited secondary. They could choose, 5 races if that's what they wanted to.
Right.
And then within there, then the system just picks up the primary in this case, or with the federal reporting, it'd be the 2 or more race categories.
But the problem then comes, you said you said it right now, families can choose as much information as they want, but our district will pick the primary information, and that's how the student gets classified. So the family has to decide, what do we put down as primary, moms or dads? The second question I have is, Susan, I think you had said before your goal was to have all the schools reach, I think you said 48%. Did you mean
Well,
40? Yeah.
y-
Did you mean 48% non-white?
Well, whatever the district-wide number is, we want to get as close to that in the
Right.
schools as we can.
'Cause
So
when I-
right now, we really, in that graph that you saw a couple graphs ago, you saw that we had increased number of students of color who were non-white. So that number's, let's say 50%. I think we're close to the 50-50 mark. So we really want the schools to be more like that. You're going to see that at the middle school and the high school, we're spot on because of our one middle school and our one high school. And for the elementaries, we do have some room to go. And it might not ever reach that perfection, but if it's at least plus or minus 10 or 15%, then we're doing pretty well. So
Here's my issue with this and how this is being structured. I did a quick, literally back of the envelope, through the schools, and what I get is just a hair over 51% white and 48.9% others, the non-white. If this is the divide we're going to use. And my problem with how this is being structured, if this is actually going to be some sort of a concrete goal, is we're literally making the stats and using the stats from a white-centric point of view. So that as long as the school is 48% something other than non-white, we're cool. But within that 48%, we don't seem to care whether it's Black, Hispanic, American Indian, as long as it's non-white. And I think that that's a very artificial divide. If you really value the categories that the state or the federal government puts out, if it really matters, then we should be looking for all of the balances within each category. That would be the ideal, not just who's
You're
white
right.
and who's
You're right.
non-white.
That would be the
It should
ideal.
be every
Dean.
one of the categories.
But the state, I have to tell you that the state, the reason why we put in our Groton 2020 plan was, if you remember, Claude Chester was significantly out of balance, and we were called on that by the state of Connecticut. And so they were looking at that as white and non-white when we got that classification. So when the state is looking at it, they're looking at it from that lens. But I would agree with you that if you really wanted to have the perfect balance and the perfect mirroring, we would look at the total percentage of students in these different categories. And you'd love to see that divided out kind of equally amongst the school. That would be real perfection.
Actually, I wouldn't, because I consider these categories themselves to be artificial, to basically to say that somebody is white and therefore they come with these characteristics, and someone's black and therefore they come with these characteristics, is racial reductionism. You're black and therefore you're like the following. People
Well,
people are not recipes. Just because they're a color or an ethnic group
Right.
doesn't mean that they're in that box. But it's a starting point that we use statistically for government purposes. But the reality is the kids are the kids,
That's right.
you know.
That's
And
right. But
you know,
But if we want to stay in balance according to what the state guidelines are, we really need to have it mirror what the community numbers are too.
I've got no problem saying we must be in compliance with what the state requires, but beyond that, let's just be honest. You know, these are artificial, to a large extent, very artificial categories and carryovers from another era. But thank you.
Susan, you want to continue?
No, actually, I'm going to have Tom continue.
Well,
Andrea, can I ask another quick question?
oh, absolutely. Thank you
I'm
for
sorry.
letting me know that.
When you say 30% of the students are not in their neighborhood, do you know what neighborhoods these 30% of these students are coming from?
They're from across the district, pretty evenly divided.
Okay,
CK was our very first magnet school and had tremendous success in growing the magnet. And then Northeast Academy came along, and they're kind of a newer magnet, so they really have a ways to go. So
does this help us with state funding, or is this something that we do because the state does this?
well, I think partially we're an alliance district because of our diversity and socioeconomic status.
Mhm.
All of the other districts, most of the other districts in what we call our district reference group are
Mhm.
similar. Fortunately, we've had really good performance data, and we were one of the last ones that were recognized in. And remember, they were talking to me about the graduation status, but because of legislators and some testimony that I wrote, we were able to stay in as an alliance district, especially based on COVID, not knowing, you know, what the real true results would be. So we have another 5 years that we're considered an alliance district.
Thank you. I do have to say, I always hated segregating the races out. I always thought that we should say United States citizen, non-citizen, or American, non-American. I hate that we segregate the races out like this, but that's just my personal view. And I know we do it because the state and the federal government requires us to do it, but I don't know. I just never liked it.
Well, you know, and I also want to make sure that it's fair and equitable in the classroom, and that all students have access to those higher level classes. And our data team does a great job looking through these different lenses, boys and girls, gender's another one that we do, so that we make sure that we are fair and equitable with the resources. So I would say that it does serve us well as a district, that we can really analyze the data and make sure that we are taking care of everyone.
All right, I'm going to proceed to the next building. So our next building is Charles Barnum. I know Seth is here. So as you can see, Charles Barnum, this is how they started off in October. Total enrollment of 331. And by June, they have risen slightly to 338. 338. not too big of a difference in terms of, each group, kind of the disaggregation, relatively stable enrollment throughout the year. Any questions or concerns around Charles Barnum? Mystic River, as you can see, Mystic River is very close to that district average in terms of kind of proportionally how it is structured. That being said, it does have a very large Hispanic population compared to our other buildings. Mystic River started with an enrollment of 525 and ended with an enrollment of 541. That is not surprising, as we do have a substantial amount of pre-K students who join us after 10-1. So the majority of that increased enrollment came from increased pre-K enrollments throughout the year. As Susan had alluded to earlier, the building where we have the most room to grow is at Northeast Academy. 71% of our student population Northeast Academy at the beginning of the year identified as white. And in June, that really didn't decrease at all. So we show roughly stable enrollment at Northeast Academy. As we talked about earlier, a little bit with Catherine Kolnaski, I think the biggest key here is that we have a lot of demand for students to go to Northeast Academy. We have very little demand to leave Northeast Academy, which is great that our students love it and our families love it. But if none of our students who are districted at Northeast Academy want to participate in the lottery to go to other schools, we have very limited ability to open up more seats for other students throughout our district. So we're really hoping to encourage more students to apply in the lottery going forward. So that way we can offer more seats at Northeast Academy. Susan?
We also have within the program for the Groton 2020, when we had both Callenberg's help with looking at these numbers and also Malone and McBroom, we have two areas that are grandfathered. So there's an area in, well, actually three, Brandegee Avenue, which is really close to Thames River. Those children often go to CK, or they were previously there. So if you have a child coming in new, a new family, new kindergartner, they would be then placed at Thames River instead of CK. But because we do keep siblings together, that's going to take us a little more time. The same thing is true in the neighborhood that now goes to Northeast Academy, but is in walking distance to Mystic River. And so once that starts to shift and those new families come on board and, you don't have the sibling need to go to Northeast, then more of those students will be coming to Mystic River. And then there was another area at the Clodchester on Pequannock side that was grandfathered, a small neighborhood, probably towards the back of Clodchester, that was also supposed to go to Northeast Academy and be grandfathered in. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but those systems take a while to get in place because you want to do it kind of slowly, because we didn't want to just redistrict kids and move them from their home school to a different school. We wanted that to be the choice of the parents. So eventually, as new families come into those three areas, we will be able to see a shift too.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I have a question or a comment. So Susan, what I'm gathering from this Northeast Academy slide is that the students that go to Northeast Academy live in that neighborhood and they don't want to go to a school outside of their neighborhood.
I wouldn't say that. I think that they are mostly, we do have, like I said, they were our second magnet, and I don't know what the percentage is. I could find out for you. What's the percentage of magnet students? But, and what's the area that naturally goes to Northeast? Because I think once they get into Northeast, they want to stay there.
Yeah, and
You don't know the percentage of students, like he said, 30% of the students at Catherine Kanaski were not in their neighborhood. Do you know
Right.
that for Northeast Academy?
Yeah, it's much less than that, maybe 15%.
Okay, so then most of their students come from that neighborhood.
Right, or have,
Okay,
yeah.
or have, okay.
But there
So,
are those grandfathered in areas that are supposed to make a shift. So
Okay.
between that and the lottery, we are looking for improvement.
So we don't make them go to other schools, like, if, because I thought I heard at one time that the Branford Manor kids had to go to Thames River.
No, they are really, they were split between,
No, not
originally
Thames
the
River.
neighborhood was split between CK and Claude Chester. So many of those children went with their peers. We wanted to keep the kids together in school pods, so they went to Mystic River.
Yeah, that's what I meant
But
to
they
say,
could
Mystic
apply to the
River.
lottery and get into Thames.
Okay,
The
but they were not
Brandegee
allowed to
Avenue
go
is the
to
one
the,
right across the street. That was the one that would be grandfathered in to go to Thames River.
okay, but those kids were not allowed to go to their neighborhood school unless they chose to go into the lottery.
Well, no, that
Are you-
would be their neighborhood school. That would be
Mystic-
their
Mystic
districted
River
school.
would be the neighborhood school for those Branford Manor kids?
Yes, because they were at Claude Chester. And
Yeah, but
Claude
that's still not their
Chester,
neighborhood school. That's
Claude
still not in their-
Chester was their neighborhood school. That was the districted school for them. So we wanted to keep those students together
Okay, so
with their
district
Claude
school-
Chester peers.
Okay, so district school and neighborhood school, two different definitions.
Well, yeah, because now it's hard to say that any of our schools are true neighborhood schools, because we only have 5, no longer 10. So we
Except-
don't really have, we might have schools that have close proximity and then some who are further out. But let's say their circle of friends has been widened because of you're going down to 5 elementary schools for the whole population of Groton.
I do believe Northeast Academy, though, because they have fewer classrooms and they do have quite a few students who live in that area. There are a lot of there, you can walk very easily from a lot of the homes around Northeast Academy to Northeast Academy, if it's, less than a mile. But there are a lot fewer classrooms, so you don't have the choice of having those open lottery seats like you do at CK. And I believe they had to redistrict from Claude Chester, from the students, the CK, the population was such that there were too many minorities, so they redistricted those students to Claude Chester and some to Mary Morrison at one time.
So yeah, that was probably before Mike and I got here. I think that happened the year before.
Yeah.
I want to just make it clear that when you're talking about much less classrooms, we're talking about physical space. Northeast Academy and Catherine Kolnowski have the same number of homeroom classrooms based on their FTEs. So in other words, you have 4 kindergartens, 4 first grade, and 3 second grades, 3 third grades, 3 fourth grades, and 3 fifth grades. So the same number of homerooms.
But we don't know what the class sizes are. So you can have
Right.
the same
The
number
class
of
sizes
students, but
are
if you have
kind of the
26
board
in a
related.
class,
Yeah.
Right. So that it's a big difference.
Well, I will make sure you get the class sizes
Thank you.
to show you. Yep.
Any other questions around Northeast Academy?
Nope.
So Thames River, again, very close to kind of the district overall averages. They started the year at 520, increased to 530. Again, we have a pre-K program at Thames River, so we expect increased enrollment throughout the year.
Tom, can you tell me which are is it one elementary school or 2 that has the kindergarten class?
2, Mystic and Thames.
Both of them. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
So
you.
the 2 newest buildings. Yep. And these enrollment numbers include that. So when you're thinking about 530, that's including those pre-K students who are half day in a lot of cases. So you're
Mhm.
talking, it does bump those numbers up substantially. Any questions around Thames River? Okay, Groton Middle School, as Susan said, 1 middle school, nearly perfect balance. 51% white. That is as close as we can possibly get, as we only have one school at that level. Groton Middle School's enrollment started at 906 and dropped to 895 throughout the course of the school year. And that is typical. That is not an outlier for Groton Middle School. All right, Fitch High School, again, nearly perfect balance. Fitch started at 1,062 this year and went to 1,042, which again is fairly typical at the high school level.
Andrew, I have a question.
Go ahead, yes.
There are 20 less students in the high school. Do you know why these students left? Were they ever expelled, or, the 20 students seems to be a lot to me compared to all the other schools. So I was just curious if you knew whether or not 16-year-olds were dropping out of school, or what is the reason why there were 20 fewer students?
So typically we see in the lead up to 10-1, the magnet schools send out kind of a last wave of seats with the idea that they're hoping to get as many students by that 10-1 date for funding purposes as possible, but not all of those actually get fulfilled by 10-1. So we still have kind of a backlog of students who got seats who may not have officially moved yet to a magnet school, for example. Maybe a seat opens up at Marine Science or something. So a lot of those are just magnet movements, which we see generally at the high school level. As students transition up to 9th grade, we do lose a substantial number of students to those magnet schools. So most of that is because of that. It's not because of expulsions or students necessarily, being outplaced or something like that. The vast majority of that is movement to magnet schools around the area.
But wouldn't they do that before 9th grade? This is 20 fewer students through the year from October 1st to June 1st.
Yep, absolutely. But when you're talking about incoming 9th graders, as I said, you have those schools trying to get to their max enrollment. So they're still releasing seats all the way up until 10-1. So you still have a lot of students who just didn't get their paperwork in yet. They may have, told somebody, or learn, hey, I'm coming to you that last week of September, but it takes a few days to get that process going. So some of these students may have left on 10-4, for example, and they still count for that. Sorry.
I can add to that too, Tom, that we do have a lot of transiency beyond the military. We have the military, and that does impact the high school, but we also have the Norwich, New London, Ledyard, Groton, sometimes Stonington, where families, even if they have high school students, 9th, 10th, 11th, typically not 12th, but, in the other 3 grade levels where they do have to go to their districted schools. So if they make a move, and with the housing the way it is now and the escalating rates, it's really tough on families. So they might have to find a home in another area to be able to afford it. And then that would cause the family to have to move sometime during the school year.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question, if I might.
Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you. I share some of the concerns that Bev and Dean raised about the utility of these classifications. I appreciate the effort to overcome whatever structural problems we have, but I'm not quite sure how we're served in unifying our country by saying we want to get away from discrimination by immediately classifying people. That being said, whether the politically correct word is underserved or at risk, or if there's some other word I'm unaware of, I'm wondering if we can use these classifications, Susan, in some way that lets us track graduation rates over a 4-year period, so that if we have, I'm just going to pick the number, 1,000 kids come into the middle school, or 1,000 kids come into Fitch, and you'd have to make those choices, we can really track whether our success rate is equally distributed amongst all kids, or if there are some classifications, I hate the word, that are more likely to suffer or not. Is there any way we can use this data?
So absolutely. As a matter of fact, that was exactly what I was talking about when I said to make sure it's fair and equitable. So whether you're looking at attendance, whether you're looking at graduation rates, whether you're looking at who's in the honors classes, the college level, the higher level classes, whatever the case may be, we always disaggregate our data so that we're trying to make sure that it is fair and equitable. And there are times when it's not, and we have to do something about it. Hence was the action plan that you saw put together at the high school, and even the middle school is talking about it, to make sure that underrepresented students, those who are, are not showing up to those classrooms, students of color in those high level classes, will know that they can do that. And we support them in doing that, in taking those classes. So you're exactly spot on that we use this not just to put kids in, cubby or to put them but we use it for data collection and to make sure that we have fair and equitable practices.
So does the data currently exist? I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I think we've shared it with you. We've shared it with the board disaggregated. Yes,
Okay.
we have shared different data.
I'll follow up because somehow I'm not connecting it, but thank you.
Okay.
Matthew, are you talking about specifically 3 and 5 year graduation dates, rates disaggregated? Is that what you're looking for?
I'm saying if we have 1,000 kids, and I don't know whether you'd start at middle school to track it over the full secondary cycle or just started when they come into Fitch. If we have 1,000 kids who come in, and we can say that of those 1,000 kids who come in this year, they fell out into the however they fall out. And then we look at them when we look at the class when we graduate. And we have to subtract out those who left and add in those who came. I'm not sure what the formula is to see, is our success rate achieving the goal of equity and fairness that I know we want?
So we keep track of all of that data very carefully, especially being an alliance district. That's part of the meeting that we're going to be involved in on Friday with the State Department, is looking at all of that data, performance data, attendance data, graduation data, and, and then, talking about action plans.
But to your question, Matthew, we do have that data. We're happy to share it with you.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Well, that's what I was going to ask also. Can you share that data with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So graduation rates trail by 1 year. So it's last year's graduation, not the current graduation. But we can certainly provide that for last year. And then during this year, we'll get this year's graduation, probably around mid-year.
And then that would be juxtaposed against the same class when they entered the secondary?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions,
I
comments?
believe Dean has his hand raised.
Thank you.
Andrea, thank you. All right, we lower the hand. So the disaggregated data, does it divide by boy, girl?
Yes, we do gender as well.
Okay, because I remember looking at it last year, and the boys in Groton are disciplined, at least the discipline that you would have to report to the state, are disciplined at a rate of 2.4 times the girls' rate of discipline. Shocker, I know. Also, for many, many, many years, there's been a trend where the girls academically simply beat the pants off the guys. So does the action plan, and I suppose I could look for it, but does the action plan address what I think could be there? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the boys are not lagging, but academically, boys dropping out, boys lagging behind academically, boys being disciplined. Does the action plan go by gender?
Yes, we also look at it based on gender as well.
Okay.
I would also add socioeconomic status is a major
Mhm.
disaggregation focus for us as well.
I think the problem with socioeconomic status is you rely very heavily on families self-reporting what their status may be, and people tend to be cagey about that. So
That's not entirely true anymore because we do get direct certification lists from the state of Connecticut. So that does flow out of kind of all related services through the state. So most of that is not self-reported anymore, it's state reported.
well, above a certain level, you probably, if you're not engaged with the state at any point, that doesn't necessarily make you a 1%er.
No, absolutely. That's true.
So the data is still kind of soft.
Yeah, there's a large variation once you hit a certain threshold between, to your point, not kind of qualifying for services, and then there's a huge range between really middle class and a 1%er. Absolutely.
Are there any other comments or questions?
I don't see any other hands raised.
So Susan, shall we move on?
I would think so. We can do that. Now, we had written down that we were going to talk to you a little bit about the reading data that we collect as a district, K through 12. I did not send you the slides because I wanted to really explain them first. I wanted you to know that we use what they call Fontes and Pinnell assessment toolkits to use our own internal data. And we use running records, and we have highly trained literacy coaches, specialists, consultants, and classroom teachers who are constantly monitoring students' reading growth throughout the year. Some students might need more assessment than others because of their intervention programs that they're in. We do these F&Ps 3 times a year typically. With COVID, I would say that it has hindered us. So as we looked at the data, we wanted to present it to you in a way that might make sense what happened, as pre-COVID, or as pre-COVID as we could get, and then what's happening this year. So this is a K-8 instructional level expectations for reading, and they go A to Z. And in kindergarten, we're looking at, possibly 3, even 4 levels. We do have students, though, who get through more than A through D or E at the end of the year. There are some students who come in reading higher than that in kindergarten. But most of them are in like pre-primer level and in those low A's and B's in the alphabet, and then grow throughout the year. And that's typical of every grade level. First grade tends to have the most level growth. And I'm going to show you a little bit what that means and kind of describe to you the level of text and what's happening. So
Andrea,
Yes.
I really can't do this by looking at this little screen. I really would like to have this discussion after we receive this information and could look it over ourselves. This is really difficult to see on a little screen and to talk about.
But I think you need to hear, not everybody is an educator, and you need to hear the background of Fontes.
After we get to at least look at it in front of us, like in black and white. I'm not saying that I don't want to be the one, disaggregating the information, but I would like to look at it before we have a discussion, or we hear about what is listed there. I just can't see it at all.
Are you talking about you can't see the form?
Right. I mean, and it's just something we should have ahead of time before it's on the agenda.
So would you rather have me take this down, talk to you a little bit about it, and then put up the graphs and charts?
No, I'd rather have it sent to us so we could look at it ourselves first. So we'd have some knowledge of I mean, we've seen this in the past. We have an idea of what's going on, and it would just be nice to have it in front of us rather than trying to.
Can I just orient you to the show though, so that when you receive it, you'll know what you're getting?
But don't you want to talk about it?
Oh, I do. We can bring it back again to discuss. I just want you to be oriented so you know what you're looking at.
Sure.
Here's my suggestion. I don't know if the board agrees, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. However, I wonder if we could get a general idea of what's going to be on this, and then have this sent to us,
Yes,
and then maybe take it up at a COW.
perfect. I like that idea. I hope others do too.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
would say, Susan, I don't know, that might actually be advantageous because some of the secondary data we wanted to share, the SBAC data is still embargoed. So it's possible if we wait closer to September, we could present it all at a COW. That might be beneficial.
Susan, if you just give us a general
Okay.
update. that
So
would be great.
this tool that you're looking at right here is what all of our classroom teachers and literacy specialists use to figure out where kids are in their grade level. So these A through Z indications or reading levels help guide who's below, who's approaching, who is there at the benchmark level, and then who is excelling the level. So they use that as a guide. And like I said, it's from grades K through 8, but in K5 in the elementary, we use it pretty fastidiously. We use it really with fidelity, and we use it 3 times a year for the actual F&P progression. But we also do these things called running records, where a teacher will sit by a child and listen to the child read and really see where they are in their level. And it's really based on things like word count, number of different words, number of high frequency words, the sentence length, the sentence complexity, the word repetition, and really the content of the story. So in the very beginning, when you're in kindergarten, you see, and you all probably know this even when you're reading to your own children, that the books had lots of pictures in K and 1. They had a lot of repeated language. The story content was pretty simple, but really something that little children could relate to. And by the XYZ area, which goes all the way really to the adult level, you see much more difficult content and context, and it grows with the child. So it really improves. And one of the things I put here, and if you want to switch to the next slide, I loved this. These are the parent guides to guided reading and reading levels. And when we do instruction in reading, we go to a next higher level. It's called the instructional level. And that's what the F&P scores are based on, instructional levels. And then there's the independent level, where you have students reading a lot and practicing their reading and building their fluency. So that's probably a level below the instructional level. So it's really important for the teacher to know where to instruct. And it's also important for the kids' book bags or book buckets to get the right level reading when they're reading independently. So these are just some tips for families. And I gave you a sample of the K version, which is, the earlier levels. And in the middle, you can see some of the kinds of books, like in this one, this is L and M, and this is more of our second grade version, and things like Abe Lincoln's
Susan,
Hat
Susan,
and
let's not,
Amelia Bedelia are books on the list that are recommended.
Susan, let's not get too deep into it.
Okay, I
Okay.
just wanted to frame it out that you can see. And then, what are the kinds of questions that parents can ask the kids when they're reading at this level? On the right-hand side, on Talk About It.
I understand. I
Okay.
understand that Liz has her hand up, but I can't see it, but Jay emailed me. I mean, he
Thanks,
told.
Jay, who's got my back. When you send this out, Susan, if you go, Tom, could you switch back to the first screen, please? Would you please, the first screen with all the letters?
Yeah, hold on.
I have no clue what those things stand for. And could you please add, like a key so I know what those letters stand for? I mean, I just see a bunch of A's and zeros.
So that's why I think the parent hand guides are really important. I have one for each of the levels. So
well,
you
then
can
can we
actually
have
see.
this so that
Yes,
we
this
can
is
read
what
it?
we use. Yep.
Yeah, but I just, I'm with Rita. I have no idea what I'm looking at. And,
Well, that's why we're doing it this way, that we're
Yeah.
going to get an overview.
Right.
And then they're going to send all of
Right.
us the.
And
okay.
then if you read the parent guides, it'll really give you a lot of level of specificity in what happens at each of these ranges of levels. So if we
Other-
continue on,
Yes, let's.
and then this is more of your 4th, 5th grade level, and we can keep going. So I'll let Tom take over from here. I wanted to show, we discussed how we would want to show this data, and we would want to show a cohort group. So these are our cohort. This is our kindergarten cohort from this year. term 2 and term 3. And we also went back for those children who are still in school, who are in school with us, to the term 2 of 1920. It ended term 2 because, as you remember, in March, we were all, remote learning automatically, if you remember that 2020 year.
But I think we're getting too deep into this. I think we really need to have this to examine before we continue.
Okay, let me just, let's take you through so you can see where the cohort actually starts. So in first grade, and green is for go, the yellow is approaching, and the red are usually typically either special education students, students that need support, students who need intervention. And our first graders were not in school with us the last time the F&Ps were taken. But if you go through the grades, now you'll see the true cohort. So the second graders were in kindergarten, and you can see that it was really, to me, not as bad as what I really was thinking when they were out for basically this last year was hybrid year, remote year. This year was very much influenced by the pandemic and the quarantining and the illness.
But Susan, unless we have the substance, I think if you go through and say, this is what you're going to get, the,
yeah.
Just go through it.
So we'll just flip through them now. That
Yes.
that you're going to
Yep.
see the cohort second. Next will be the third grade, who was in first grade. And then we'll see fourth grade, who were second graders before, we went out.
I think that's all we need to see is we
Okay.
know we're going to get these.
Yep.
Okay.
I would just like to make one point. To be clear, these are not matched cohorts. These are rough cohorts, meaning we did not match students over the year. So this is just how this grade level performed in 2019-2020. It is not the exact same students. So as you know, we have quite a bit of turnover. I just want to
See,
make sure.
but
we're
these are
clear
the
on that.
things, these are the things that we should be talking about after we have
Yes, we can
have
do
the
that.
information.
Yep.
So let's just move on to the next one,
All
because
right.
we know we don't want to waste all of your valuable work on something we don't have in front of us.
I just wanted you to be oriented, because if you had received it and you said, what is this, A through Z?
Yep. Yep.
I wanted you to be familiar. And the parent guides, I'll make sure you get one of each of the guides so that you can kind of see the growth and development. And and see
Yep.
what the children are, reading and how it differs, how it changes and grows.
That's great. That's really good.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else who wants to who has a question or comment? Okay, then moving on to the assistant superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm just going to give my monthly report. I tried to take some time over the last few weeks to visit the different programs that are going on, or at least check in with the people who are the program directors. So I'll just give you a brief overview of what I've been doing, since the summer started. With our ESY program, we have on average about 120 to 130 students in preschool through high school attending our extended school year program. The standard session ends this week. We do have 54 students in our ABA program and transition academies who will continue through August 11th. Each day their students are given breakfast as they enter the building. They typically participate in a morning meeting or shared lesson before working on their IEP goals and objectives individually and in small groups. Students do also receive related services such as speech, OT, PT, and counseling. So most of our students do take the bus to and from school. And we also have two buses that drop students off at Camp Button and Camp Discovery after school. So that comes from Natasha Zanelli, who's our ESY program director, doing an excellent job with that program this summer. The STEM themed summer camps that were happening at Charles Barnum, I've reported on those before. Those have concluded, but approximately 400 students from all areas of Groton attended those 2 weeks of camp. Teachers from each of Groton's elementary schools led classes on hands-on STEM activities and a wide range of team building experiences. Week 1 themes included designing bridges, exploring wind power, catching invasive species and building rockets and rovers. The week 2 theme included creating bubbles and bubble wands, engineering racers out of recycled materials, building earthquake resistant buildings, designing parachutes, and the one I'm very sorry I missed, engineering ice cream. In addition, students explored computer science and coding. They had visits from Connecticut Science Center and presentations from our own Aluminum Falcons robotics team. And this is all coming from Ben Moon and Christina Post, who led the program. They said the teachers did a fantastic job of highlighting the areas where math is used in science and engineering activities. Survey results from families indicated a high degree of satisfaction and a desire to continue to offer more summer programs like this. And staff surveys also indicated a successful learning experience and a desire to participate again next year. So that's always great. And hopefully we'll have some pictures. He did send a link of a file with some pictures that Mark had taken while he was there. So, so we'll try to share those with some of the board notes, upcoming board notes. Carrie Carter reported on the GEMS Summer STEAM Camp. That's winding down and also ends this week. And during the 4 weeks, they held 2 sessions for students. In those sessions, students participated in math, language arts, and STEAM activities. The math and language arts sessions were designed for catching up students, filling in some gaps, and also for those who just wanted to stay sharp with skills over the summer. The STEAM sessions were more enrichment and included activities such as dance and fitness, team building, arts and crafts, and earth science. And in addition, we also had a portion of the Blues and Beyond program here, which we've had in the middle school for the past couple of years, which incorporates music-themed lessons to teach history. So they visited our program each Thursday to end the week on a high note.
I see that Mrs. Volkman has her hand up.
Yes, well, you know, my question is, like you said, for there was at least 2 weeks at the Groton Middle School where they had, you know, they addressed some of the math and language arts learning loss. But again, not anything in our elementary schools. How did the district address learning loss in elementary schools this summer? STEAM is enrichment, as far as I'm concerned. And that was 2 weeks. And I just felt that all along we needed to have, you know, I don't know, you at one time you told me that there were going to be tutors working with kids.
There were.
There were. We have our math and literacy specialists and any teacher could offer their services as tutors for this summer.
And how many students are getting tutored, and how does it happen?
I can get you the numbers. I can definitely send those this week because I don't have them in front of me, but they were identified by each school's data team in terms of whether they had some gaps in math or language arts. Those sessions are done. There's one-on-one tutoring going on, and there's also small group tutoring going on, and it's being done both in person and via Zoom.
Yeah, I'd really be interested in receiving that data.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And I should have incorporated that. And that is ongoing. That's been going on since the end of the school year. So I can definitely get those numbers and even get some reports back from those tutors.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I wonder if we could make it a practice that if you're going to talk about something that the data gets to the board before, we could do that. Beverly, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Andrew. Phil.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the beginning of what you were saying? Because I missed some of that. You were talking fast, so I couldn't get it all. About the transition classes, what exactly are they? And then you used some abbreviations and I didn't know what they were.
Oh, okay. And I tried to take out as many of the abbreviations as I possibly can. I think you're referring to when I said there are 54 of our students that are in our Applied Behaviors program and Transition Academy. Those are some of our students with autism and those students who have other behavioral issues, emotional behavioral issues. Those students do stay on for additional help until August the 11th. I believe the abbreviations, I did mention that they work on their IEP goals, their individualized education plans, which all students that receive special education services have. And then I mentioned,
What was ESY?
oh, extended school year. That's
Okay.
the program. And then I
And
did
that
say
is
that they-
specified in their IEP. So in their
Okay.
final year IEP, that's discussed who is going to require summer school. And the transition academy actually is housed up at central office. Those are our students who are beyond high school. So, you know, those are our students up to age 22 who, you know, continue a program in the summer.
Do they go all day or half a day?
It's a half-day program in the summertime.
And they go until August 11th?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
They all have jobs too this summer. So, you know, that whole life skills and getting jobs, they have had different jobs even during the school year. So
And you said you have 54 students in this transition academy?
no, that's
Between the-
between the
Okay.
autism program and the transition academy.
Thank
And
you.
I apologize for speaking too fast, and I will try to keep note of that. Finally, just two more reports, one from Fitch High School, from between Adam Diskin and Joe Arcarisi. They said that the summer school is progressing nicely. They began on July 6th with students taking Apex learning courses. Those are online courses, and other students taking in-person learning classes. To date, they have 126 students attending summer school. Approximately 90 students are involved in over 178 Apex learning classes, and 62 students are involved in 14 in-person learning classes. And again, I'll send you these numbers and so you can see them. And those numbers don't add up to 126 because there are some students that are doing more than one type of learning this summer. But they are anticipating that 93% of the students enrolled in the Apex learning classes are on track to earn the credits that they signed up for. And again, the Apex program in summer school gives students the opportunity to receive credits that they lost over the last couple of years. Progress in the in-person learning classes is all positive. Students are engaged in completing the required work, and the anticipation is that they will pass those classes. And then the final report, I asked Ernie to give me an update on how lunch services are going. And everything is really positive. You know, in terms of the time at Butler, they serve snacks roughly 275 daily. At Mystic River, they serve roughly 85 to 90 breakfasts daily. At the high school, they said they have enough to feed everyone who's there, over 125, but are currently only serving about 40-ish a day, breakfast and lunch, at that location. GMS also, they have enough for everyone who had signed up, but they're currently only serving about 15 daily, which is breakfast only at Groton Middle School. The community and rec sites that we've spoken of before, where they're throughout the community, those are doing extremely well and serving about 600 breakfasts daily and about 750 to 850 lunches daily. He made note of that. So that's a quick snapshot from Ernie in terms of the food services. So I know his people are working really hard to make sure that it's available to everyone that wants it.
Beverly,
Thank you, Andrea. Phil, in the high school summer school classes, what subjects have the highest enrollments? Or what
That's a great,
subjects do you see the biggest need for students are taking?
to make up credit. I'll have to get that information from the high school. I don't have that. But what I'll do is I'll include that when I send the numbers that I just read off to you as well. I'll include.
Okay, thank you.
are there any students who are taking college level courses this summer?
I don't think that's reflected in the Apex and the in-person learning. It states that the Apex is used to make up credit. I'm not sure if the in-person learning is college level, but again, I will verify that with Adam Diskin and Joe.
I thought that college level courses were available maybe not through Apex, but that they were.
Okay, yeah, it could be. It could be. I'll verify it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well then, it looks like Mr. Knight, you're on.
Hello, everybody. Let's see, I'm going to share attachment number 2 here real quick. This here is our object code summary for the new year, FY23. You'll notice in the left-hand column at the very bottom, that's our new budget number of 79,157,271. If you go all the way over to the right, we're currently have a projected unexpended balance of $2,680. It's really early in the year. Most of the line items are at budget. The one item or a couple items that I will draw your attention to is under other benefits. We had an additional teacher and 2 para 1 retirements that weren't contemplated in the budget. So there is an increase to the retirement severance expense, but there's a corresponding decrease in salaries as we will replace those 3 positions at a lower rate. So at this point, we would put a conservative number in there of a reduction in salaries of just over $30,000. And that's kind of what's driving that difference at this point. Other than that, most lines are at budget, so it's pretty early in the year. So not much to share really. And I'll take this down. Okay. If no questions, I'll move on to the health insurance claims report. Yep. Okay. That's attachment number 3. Here it is on your screen. This is through May of 2022. You'll notice that for the month, we're at 128% of our anticipated monthly amount. This compares with last year. Last May, we were at 104%. So May is typically a heavy month in regards to health insurance claims. On a year-to-date basis, we're at 97.8% of anticipated or projected. So pretty sure we'll end up the year somewhere around this number, depending on how June comes through. Last year, June was a lower month. That may happen again this year. We'll have to see. But I think we're in very good shape for this year and looking forward to next year.
And when you look across, if you look at it at an annual basis, December tends to spike for whatever reason. And also May. I'm surprised June doesn't when people are getting their regular well care, but you know.
Yeah, that's the way last year played out.
Mm-hmm.
These past few years, they're not typical, so it's hard to make judgments based upon those. But I can't imagine that it's going to push us over the 100% for the year. So I think we're in good shape.
Are there any questions, comments? I saw Matthew.
Great job, Ken. Stipulating that we have roughly $250,000, I don't want to say well, it's budgeted, so unexpended budget. What happens to any unexpended budget at the end of the year once you get the June figures, whatever it happens to be?
So at the end of any particular year, any unexpended funds, we'll meet and determine if there are items that need to be taken care of. Like this year for FY22, we were able to pay for the plans for the culinary arts at Fitch High School that we attempted to get the CIP for from the town. So we can utilize funds in that way. We also make sure we put funds towards the health insurance reserve to be sure that's kept healthy. But any funds that aren't used, they just go back to the general fund with the town.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Welcome.
So Mr. Kilpatrick, you ready?
I am.
Shoot.
The first part of my report will be regarding the school facilities and a list of some of the major projects that are going on, because we are doing the usual things that we do every summer, as you as a principal know, former principal know, Dr. Ackerman. Actually, this past week has actually moved a major project up on our priority list. Without going into too much detail, we have a situation with our server room here at the central office that we need to address with it overheating. So Dr. Kennedy and I have been working on that. We have a plan. We've talked to Ken and Susan about it, and so we'll be working on taking care of that in the very near future. Additionally, one of the other big items that's on our list for this summer, at least if the town continues to insist that we get out of the frame building, that's the wood frame building at Pleasant Valley, we'll be moving, that will be a major move for us and the maintenance department, moving 10,000 square feet of storage items into 5,000 square feet of portable buildings that we have here at the central office. So I think we'll probably do a lot of culling and either selling off via through the town's website, or maybe some things might actually be too old to use anyways. So we'll be culling those items and moving the rest here to the central office. And in the meantime, our carpenters and maintenance men are working on preparing those buildings so that we will have platforms to load things into the buildings. We've installed some overhead doors to get larger items into these what were classrooms at Cutler Middle School. So over at Mary Morrison School, there we're waiting. We're working on the final approval from the fire marshal so that we can move robotics, treehouse, and of course ECAT into that building as soon as possible. So we've finished up our portion of the work there, and we're just waiting for him to find time to come over and give us final approval so we can move those groups into that building.
And can I just add, Treehouse is just the administrators. The Treehouse program will continue to be at each of our elementary schools, you know, before and after school.
Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Also at Charles Barnum School, the trailer, the job site trailer that we have at Charles Barnum School that ECAT was using, seeing as they're going to move to Mary Morrison, will be deconstructing what we all of the additional items like fire alarm, electricity, and everything that we put into that so that it can go back and save that rental income that we've been paying for the last couple of years. So that'll be going down. Just met with Dr. Kennedy this morning at Catherine Kolnaski and Charles Barnum School, but we will be installing Promethean boards throughout the district. I can't remember the number that he said, but it was probably 25 to 30. The average is probably 25 to 30 per building. So that's a pretty big project that we got coming up. Also at Kolnaski School, we are working with the building official and the fire marshal to determine whether we can divide a music room into two spaces so that they would have a band on one side and general music on the other side of that classroom. So that's coming up. Additional training, we'll be doing a lot more training with our maintenance staff on the two new elementary schools. While we had some training with the contractors before they left, the shakedown crews of I guess that's a naval term, but our shakedown crews here in our buildings take a little longer than just a couple of weeks. A new building really takes well over a year to really get everything running exactly and making all the adjustments that are necessary, and also making sure that our maintenance people that we have here on staff are up to speed on all the intricacies regarding all of these items. The DDC system, which is the computerized portion of the heat and air conditioning, for instance, it controls all of that. So we have to make sure that we have a couple of people that are fully trained on those and able to use those. Electrical, plumbing, so on and so forth. As well as making some repairs. While a lot of that stuff is still on warranty, I've always taken the view that if we can fix something quicker than the 2 weeks that it's going to take for the contractor to get here, and it's a minor issue financially, we just try and get those things done and save the major items for the contractor with the warranty issue. Also, without divulging too much certain information, critical information, we're working on safety and security issues at all of our schools as well. And of course, we have that major HVAC system at Fitch High School, which takes care of most of the new section of the building, along with the auditorium, which is it's in a state that needs to be replaced, and we've got that on order. It was supposed to be here last month. The last I heard is that it will be here toward the end of August, maybe early September, but we're really pushing them to get it here sooner so that we can have that ready for the beginning of school. It's going to take a large crane to install that, so we wouldn't want to do that while kids were in that portion of the building. So we're hoping to be able to get that done before school. If not, then we'll have to find maybe a Tuesday afternoon or something to get it up on the roof while the crane could do it while the kids aren't in the building, something like that.
I know that Jay Oitloff has a question.
Yeah, Sam, I'm just curious on the subject of the new buildings. Other than that, those very minor issues that we've discussed on the previous punch list, which seem to be mainly centered around landscaping, has anything else come up, especially with regard to the flooring issues? I think there was a flooring issue at GMS and also at one of the new elementary schools. And then as an add-on to that, do you have any sort of high-level update on the solar project?
The solar project, we're still, the last thing that happened on the solar project was that the contract for the PPA, the contract went from our attorney to their attorney for final comment. So that just happened the day before, maybe last Friday or this afternoon. So it just went to them and we haven't heard back from them yet. So that's where we're just waiting for them to make final comment. I think we had pretty much everything wrapped up with that one. There were just a couple of minor issues that everybody seemed to agree would not affect the signing of the PPA. And the other question, Jay, I'm sorry.
Just if anything else has come up with regard to punch list items.
Oh.
And specifically in the area of the flooring issues at GMS and
Right. As you said, most of them were landscape issues on the list. The flooring issue that we had at the Groton Middle School did not happen again. They took care of that last year. It was in a part of in the floor in the lowest level, and they thought it might have had something to do with the in-floor heat there. It may have been raised, the temperature may have been raised too high. So they lowered that, and we haven't had that problem again since. But of course, the heating isn't running right now. So we'll see that again and make sure that everything's good when we get to the winter months. Groton Middle School, one of the big things at Groton Middle School, and I see that I just got a notice this afternoon regarding Thames River, is that the in the heating system in the ceiling of the classrooms, they've had a couple of small drips of glycol, which is the fluid that's going through the heating system. So whether it's just tightening up a valve or whether it's some other type of leak, I don't know. We haven't gotten down it. The head custodian sent me the notice as he was leaving this afternoon, so I'm going to meet him down there tomorrow morning, take a look at that. But we've had some more at the middle school, and there was an agreement that the contractors were going to come back for a certain period of time. So I'll be working on getting them back to work on the ones at the middle school. It seems to be a longer term problem than anybody anticipated. But that was not an installation issue at the middle school. It was actually, of course, we all remember that building was built during COVID. One of the theories is that these things were being pushed out of the factory as quickly as possible with maybe less employees at some of these factories. And so some of the welding and or soldering joints were not done or maybe not inspected the way they should have been. So those are the types of things that are happening with that heating system. So we're trying to keep an eye on that and take care of them as quickly as possible, because it does happen in classrooms on occasion. So we get in there pretty quickly and getting that taken care of. But that's about all I've had regarding problems.
I'm sorry, if I could just follow up. So there were also tile problems at one of the elementary schools. I'm thinking Thames, and those had to be all ripped out and reinstalled. Have we seen a recurrence of that? And number two, this glycol issue. I mean, how long, is this warranty going to cover that?
Well, I'm going to have to get together with Arcadis and find out what that agreement. I don't remember exactly what it was. I know it was longer than a year that they were going to come back and take care of it. So I'll get back to you on that one. And the flooring issue, whether it was Thames or Mr.
I felt it was at both schools.
I think mostly it was at one school, but either way, they determined in the project, Rick determined that they were going to take up all the tiles and redo all of them rather than finding out that it was going to happen once we opened school. So all the tiles were replaced, and we don't have any of that lifting problem. I wouldn't say that I don't know of any. But it's certainly not throughout the building. So there might be an occasional tile somewhere, but I haven't heard about it either. So that was pretty much resolved by getting new tile, a different brand, different colors than were originally planned on, but was all reinstalled prior to the opening of school. Well, it was finished up after we opened school, but most of it was done prior to the opening of school.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions, any other questions or comments?
Okay, second part is.
You got more?
Yeah, I have a report on the going green in the cafeteria or in the food service department. So I wrote down here that we've gone green and we'll continue to go green. But some of the things that we've done to go green is that through the CIP, we're able to add dishwashers to all of our buildings, all of our kitchens have dishwashers now, so that we're using the trays, we're washing the trays and the utensils, and they're being reused on a daily basis. We do have some fiber, which are kind of a paper product, almost a cardboard feel to them. Trays that would be used in the event that a dishwasher broke down, but we don't use them unless that were to take place. We haven't had that problem yet, but we do have those on hand. There was a ban from the town banned the use of foam, and we have none. Ernie says that we do not use foam any longer. We did have some plastic cups that we used for fruits and other small items like that. Those have been eliminated. and now we're using a biodegradable sandwich bag. And every time Ernie tells me about one of these things, of course, he complains because these items cost about 3 times as much as the items that he was using before. So all these things come at a cost. I guess they can charge what they want because you need to have it. So that's part of the deal. There is still some limited use of plastic in the kitchen, but it's used to maybe to cover food to preserve it. So there might be some plastic bins to preserve food, or a plastic covering to wrap, plastic wrap to put over the top of an item just to preserve it. But that's the only reason that we would be using any plastic within the food service department presently.
Any
Anything
question?
that comes up from the state or the town, we will work on that when that comes.
Questions, comments? Okay, I think now you're done.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving on now to committee reports, and I've got the first one, and that is that there are 3 policies coming to you tonight. And we've been working very, very hard on the accelerated courses that we were thinking of offering to the middle school and actually through the IB program, so 6 through 10. But we really are, the state has its own ideas, but to make them fit our concepts of how we want to address children's needs, that's where the language has to, really struggling with that so that we get it correct. Beverly, do you want to add anything to that? Beverly here? She may not be here. Well then,
Can I just add that I took back the committee's work to Erica, and we looked at breaking it apart because it was so comprehensive. We felt it was regulations and policy woven together. So we were able to split it up, and I'll make sure that she gets the committee, all committee members, a copy of it's a 1-page policy, and then it's like a page and a half of regs.
Thank you,
So
Susan.
I did take your good advice, and we restructured that. So I'll make sure you get a copy.
thank you. And that's something that I'm glad you brought that up, because we have policies that have the regulations in them. And I think that we should have a common practice, and that is to have policy and a separate set of regulations. So thank you for bringing that.
Mhm.
Okay, Susan, did I miss anything?
No, that
Okay,
was perfect.
okay. Jay, finance and facilities. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's Liz Bricklow.
We just met the hour before this meeting, so that was kind of fun. And I just wanted to give the board a heads up that we will be bringing to you in the near future 2 new elective courses that will be at the middle school. One is personal finance, and one is about a microscope, and it's all elective, short, very short snippets there. They have their elective courses. They are in conjunction with their, of course, core requirements. We also approved the updated version of the Introduction to Economics course. And so that will be offered in the spring of 2023. So January 2023. And we are looking, Dr. Piazza has been working and is continuing to work on a program of studies audit to make sure that all courses are board approved curricula. And we have, he's also written out for us very clearly and the timeline and calendar for the review of curriculum, as well as for revisions, as well as for new courses that will be adhered to as much as possible. We're going to make sure that, this is one of our charges, is to make sure these things follow the proper process. So we're working on that. Where upcoming is looking at P6146 graduation requirements, some of the language in there and some of the ideas. Some of the things are are a little wonky. So we're going to look at that and send that back to the policy committee. And we have quite a bit we've been doing, but we're looking at also the Groton Middle School Program of Studies will be also going through an audit. We're also going to be exploring financial literacy across the Groton Public Schools curricula, and a comparison of college prep versus basic. And this is all listed on our referral tracking sheet. So it's been very busy, very productive. And Andrea, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Well
Bill, did
done.
I miss anything?
No, you covered it. Thank you.
Okay.
So now moving on to finance.
Yeah, we did not meet since our last meeting.
Communications, Matt.
We have not met since the last meeting.
Okay. And Jay, you were going to speak to negotiations.
Well, all I can say is we've met twice. Rita can maybe elaborate on this, but we discussed basic strategy, we set ground rules, and we set future dates.
Yeah, you just might want to add, it's with the AGSA, the administrators,
Good
the
point.
negotiations.
Right, good point.
And I don't think the town council or RTM Board of Ed liaison has been meeting.
But I have something from Learn.
No, I know that. I
Oh.
know that.
I thought
Oh,
you skipped over me.
I skipped it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Since I wasn't at the June meeting, I wanted to just talk a little bit about what went on at the June meeting. And I mean, I wasn't to report on this last June. So there was a legislative update that I thought was very interesting. It's Public Act 22-80, and this bill requires schools to ensure all employees are provided 30 minutes of lunch. It also prevents any school teacher from having to teach both remote and in person at the same time. There was another bill which was sad that it didn't go through because it had the support of CAPS and the CAVE and the CEA. And this was to take the responsibility for districts to pay tuition to any magnet schools across the state. So I think they allowed this only for some of the cities, but not Groton, not most of the towns in the state, which would have been great if we wouldn't have had to pay for magnet funding for out of district. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the director, Mrs. Kate Erickson, her contract was extended for a year due to her outstanding performance in recognition of the unprecedented and difficult challenges faced in the pandemic year. And I also was reelected as the secretary of the executive board at Learn. That's it. Thank you.
Well done. I'm sorry again.
Oh, no problem.
I think that, I don't think the AGSA, GEAB Board of Ed met. at
We
least
don't
I
meet in
don't-
the summer, no.
And Groton Scholarship, Mrs. Porter.
Our next meeting isn't until the fall, so September, October-ish. Haven't received confirmation about those dates yet.
Okay. Can you tell me who the head of that who's
There's a new person coming in, and I'm not sure who that is.
okay, thank you. Athletic Fields, is that Mr. Whitelock?
Yeah, so they're still in abeyance as the town continues their visioning of what they want to do with the Claude Chester property.
Okay. Library, is that Matthew, I think? Oh, Trails.
Yeah.
I don't think we have I'm sorry, Matthew. I don't think we have a representative on Trails.
I was named to that.
Oh, you were? Well, then.
Yes. So they meet quarterly. The next meeting is September.
Okay. And library, that's you.
Library, think you'd be glad to know that the library now has 2 student representatives from Groton. I've got both of their names, Kaylee Allen and Ada Gauthier. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I tend to deform everything in French. I just don't recall which is from the magnet school and which is from Fitch, but we have 2 student representatives to give us input on the library.
Thank you. And the State Council of Educational Opportunities for Military Children meets twice a year and we'll be meeting in October. If if we continue in the same way. So now we're going to the action items, and I need a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is
Read
there any,
it. I'm sorry, it's virtual. We're supposed to say our name. I'm sorry.
discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? The motion carries. Okay, so we're moving on to old business. And this is the policy regarding gifted and talented. And if is Denise here?
No.
Oh, okay, so this one is ready to go. So I'm asking, I don't know, is Beverly still here? I'm going to ask her to read the motion. Well, in that case, Dean, would you read the motion?
Certainly. All right, move to approve policy / regulation 6172.1, gifted and talented as a second reading.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Okay. Discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed?
Sorry.
Abstain? Okay, motion carries. Second,
No discussion.
did we have, did I miss that?
Yeah,
Just for those who might be watching at home, could I say that we did have a very lengthy and robust discussion about this for the first reading?
Yes.
And then it came back and we've all had the opportunity to read all of the changes since then. So it's not as though we're just, running through this. I think this has been subject to quite a bit of scrutiny.
Actually, we had a very robust discussion here and at the policy meetings. And there were so many things that I just objected to. And I said that I would be the only one voting no on my own policy committee. So we got it down to where it's best for our kids in Groton.
Right. And a lot goes out to Denise and Susan and her team for addressing all the issues I think that we brought up at the last meeting.
Yes.
So
So the next is the eligibility to participate in interscholastic athletics. And this is another one where we had some robust conversation on. So Mr. Whiteloff, would you read that?
I move to approve policy P6145.1, eligibility to participate in interscholastic athletics as a first reading.
Second,
Second, Liz.
discussion.
We
Yes.
do have Mark Romano on if you have any questions,
Oh.
our athletic director for the campus of Groton Middle School and Fitch High School.
I have a question for Mark. According to the CIAC rules, are there grade requirements different than the grade requirements that we have for our high school? That wasn't our policy previously? And are they always required then, if they fall below the recommended grade requirement, to have extra help after school?
Yep, so the first part, the second part there, if they fall below the grade requirement, we are offering Falcon Academy. We are in constant contact on a biweekly basis with our coaches and student athletes to get them into Falcon Academy, to get them more support, a couple times a week. And then we also reevaluate during that time. But once they're deemed ineligible, it's until the next grade report comes out. So it's roughly the whole entire quarter.
I see, but I mean, I believe it was a C- or a D, that if they receive that grade, then they have to go to the Falcon Academy.
Oh, I see, sorry, Fs and Ds.
Fs and Ds, okay.
Yep.
So, and is that what the CIAC also recommends?
From the CIC, there is no recommendation on specific grades. It's just more of a blanket requirement,
Passing.
just passing 4 classes.
Right. So don't you think since our policy is different than theirs, shouldn't that be stated for Fitch? I mean, in our policy?
Meaning the Fs and Ds.
Yes.
I
It's
think
different
they're
than the CIAC.
right. Like our policy is obviously a little, we've upped the ante a little bit in regard to our student athletes, which I think is a great thing. I think some students with Fs and Ds, some may not be contributed totally to the student. There may be other issues. It could be, 1 grade throughout the first couple weeks, which in turn would give them, maybe they didn't do too hot on it, so I don't know that's something we can continue to explore and evaluate. But I'm not sure at this time if that's something that we would want to put in there.
I think though, this doesn't seem to come with a regulation. I'm looking, and a regulation would be, how do we actually manage the policy at the school level? So that's something that you and your team could work on for us, Mark, and put into place those support systems that we have, that communication system that you have with coaches and teachers and students and families, because that really does state how much care we put into this to ensure kids are successful. So that would be my recommendation, is that we create a regulation that is the facilitation of the policy. How do we facilitate the policy?
Well, this was, we always had this. I mean, remember with Beverly being, years ago, we had very large discussions about this, and it was decided that Falcon Academy would help those students that are falling behind. And I really think that should be part of our policy, since this is a first read.
I'm going to go to Beverly and then Dean, but I wanted to say that this is something that bothered me from the beginning, and that is that the regulations are intertwined in the policy itself. And I really object to that, and particularly now after this discussion. So
this is a very short and sweet policy. So I think there are more regulations that are actually accomplished, like the ones that you talked about with the support system.
After Beverly, first Beverly, then Dean.
Okay. Thank you. Where it says the principal shall publish eligibility criteria, where is that going to be published, and how often is it going to be published? Is it going to be published every year, and where in a student handbook, or where exactly is it going to be published?
Susan, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, that would be good. It says the administration shall be responsible to determine whether students meet the criteria. I'm looking for the principal, and the principal shall publish eligibility criteria.
Yeah, so that would be, obviously all our sports nights, we go over that with our parents, communication with the student athletes, but that would be published in our student athlete handbook, as well as our school handbook. So it'd be in both areas.
Can you?
So that's another area that I think would help us in the regulation if we stated that kind of thing.
Right. So it should be published. He should publish eligibility criteria in student handbook. And where else?
The school handbook itself.
I'm sure. Would you also have it on the website somewhere under the scholastics?
Yep, I was just going to say that there will be I believe there's a CIC eligibility brochure already on there, but we would also incorporate ours as well.
And I'm going to go to Dean and then to Rita. And I want to say that this is one of the things that we had this before us before. And this was the same objection that I had. And that was that there were no regulations. So I'm wondering where we are with this. I thought we were ready to go, but now I'm not so sure. So Dean.
Yeah, thanks. I think we're all on the same page on this one, but just to be clear, because I think sometimes people can think of a grade cutoff as from the point of view of the kid may be underwater and maybe shouldn't be participating in sports. Others may view it as punishment for having gotten too low of grade. And, you know, how fair is that, et cetera. And again, I think we're all on the same page, but I always want to view this, for whatever grade criteria are set, from the point of view of it's not a punishment. It's because we determined that the kid scores whatever the metric is. If the kid scores below that, it's an indication that the kid is underwater and maybe athletics should be sidelined until they do better academically, since that's the prime goal of the school. The other thing I want to mention with respect to grades is we're talking about Ds and C minuses. I can see where a kid who may be headed right for a D, in that situation, a teacher may be convinced on their own, perhaps there's a chat, a little sympathy, could you make it a C minus? That's not impossible. People have done that with failing grades. Don't fail the kid. At least give him the D minus kind of a thing. Give him the D. So I don't distinguish between. Every time I see a C minus, I think to myself, that's probably was going to be a D, but somebody had sympathy and gave him a C minus. So that's my comment.
I think, Dean, one thing to point out is that the students that are falling below grade level, they still can participate in sports if they go to the Falcon Academy for an hour after school. So it's not a punishment in so much as that they're still able to participate. They just need some extra credit.
Right.
You know,
And extra help. Mhm.
So
Right,
it's
that's
not
exactly what I
really-
was getting at. If they can continue to play, that's fine.
Yes.
As long
can
as they are in
continue to play.
fact going to get their work up to snuff.
Right, right. And my question was to Mark, I don't understand in A where it says, it talks about as outlined in the CIAC handbook, plus one additional full credit for a total of 5 credits. It's not very clear to me. Do you mean that if you participate in sports after school, you can get up to 5 credits?
Mark, you can explain that. No.
Yeah.
No, basically it's the minimum requirement. So the CIC states that you can earn 4 credits and still be eligible to participate in athletics. We are saying, you know, obviously with this hope in the past that, you know, we're upping it to 5 credits. So a student would be eligible to participate in athletics if they were to earn 5 or more credits.
Okay, so we really should make that a little clearer because it's not clear at all. So it's according to plus, you know, our particular school, and this counts for middle school also, or just the high school?
Just the high school.
Okay, so I mean, it would be something we could think about for the middle school also. Is that correct? Or not?
The middle school has different requirements than the high school to participate in that.
Yeah, and they don't have the Falcon Academy, I know.
I know that's something that they're talking about bringing to the middle school as well, though.
Oh, great. Well, so I feel that this policy needs a little more work but it is only the first reading, so.
Right, and I couldn't agree with you more. I really want to, when we had our meeting, we talked long and hard about how the regulations were clearly embedded in the policy. And I still have an issue with that.
Yeah.
So.
See, and I don't see that they are embedded. I feel like there's more work to be done, and that would be my role to have the team from Fitch to really clearly state what are those support systems that we have in place. And that would be our regulation, our operations of how we make sure that we're abiding by the policy. Does that make sense to you, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I know a lot of the support systems that we do use, like we said, is the Falcon Academy, the one-on-one tutoring, the National Honor Society to support our, you know, student athletes. Some teams,
CTL.
Yep, CTL, where they're meeting with teachers or even, again, other students. So, I mean, I know maybe we don't have it written in there, but we are doing all these things already.
Yeah, I think we could put it down as a regulation, and that would, and maybe even to explain further, what is this one additional and maybe we just tighten up that language as a minimum requirement.
Right.
that we are expecting one more than what CICAC is suggesting to get to the 5
Yes.
credits.
Yeah.
I think you're right. We need to tweak the language on the policy and then I think a set of regulations to go with it.
Thank you. Matthew, you had your hand up, so I'm just checking with you before I go to Beverly.
Thank you. I was wondering, Susan, I'm sensing there's consensus that we need to do some work on the regulation. Is there a critical need to pass the first reading tonight, or are you comfortable with tabling this so that the regulation can be written and we can do both
Well,
together?
the board doesn't vote on regulation, Matthew. That's
Okay.
the responsibility of, the administrative team working on that. But I would say that if we go back, and we can bring it back to policy in between to tweak the language, but I do see Rita's point in clarifying what does this mean, the +1 additional, and hearing that it's a minimum requirement. So I might get Mark to take a look at that with me to see if we can fine tune that and then look at it in policy together. And even during policy meetings, we sometimes will review the regulations so the board at least sees it and can, make suggestions to it.
Beverly.
Thank you.
Yes, I was gonna also recommend that we send it back to policy and get the regulations. Also, I think it might be a good idea to work on the middle school policy for interscholastic sports at the same time.
I agree, Beverly. Yep. Okay.
So I don't think I ever read the motion, did I?
Oh, maybe not. Oh, well, Roberts will have to come and get me. What can I say?
Well, no, but I just meant whether or not, I should read the motion.
I think
And
you're
then
right.
we can decide whether or not, which could just go back to policy or what to do with it. So to approve policy P7551, naming of facilities as a first reading.
Oh, that's the next one.
Yeah. No, you're on the wrong one, Rita.
Oh,
you made me
okay,
feel good.
okay, good. No, that's right. I'm reading the next one. Jay, did Jay read this one?
You did, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, you already read it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm already moving on because I feel the J should go back to policy.
Are you
we'll
looking
get there.
for, are you looking for a motion to send back to the policy committee?
Well, we're gonna vote on it right now. We're gonna vote on whether this, whether we approve, whether we, whether it fails. Fails, it's gonna go back to policy.
Right. Sorry.
So, okay, we had the discussion, all in favor? Opposed, including me,
Aye.
I
Aye.
abstain. Okay, the motion fails and it's going back to policy.
So can I just ask a question before we move forward? So just the way that it is now, so we're going to continue then with the passing of the 4 classes to be eligible until this gets ironed out and we bump it to 5. Because with the fall sports starting, at kind of the end of August, I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page as everybody.
That is the timeliness, and that I think the
Right.
most essential ingredient and change in this is that piece. That's really the only thing that stands out that's different in this policy as opposed to what we had before. So that is a timeliness issue. And so I'd like for Mark to have it. I mean, it's going to take 2 readings, so sports will already have started.
Well, we're gonna stay with what we have because we didn't pass this. It's gotta go back to policy. Absolutely. And we tried to address these things and they didn't get addressed. And again, I'll take responsibility for that.
So you're saying that the +1 additional full credit is something new?
Yes.
I don't know that it's new, but it was never written in to the policy that we had. It might be a practice that we've done.
Right.
So
So Mark, you're telling us that this has been in place, but but it wasn't in the policy? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would say yes. Yep.
Well, then if it's practice, can't we keep it in place?
I would say.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Thanks for asking that.
So we would continue to work on the regulations to clean that up, so it's a clear streamline of, you know, if a kid does have a D or an F, what are the supports that are going to be in place? And how can we support those students moving forward?
Right.
And then clean up the language of, you know, minimum of
Yes.
5 credits
Right.
earned. Which
And
is
that-
kind of what we're doing already.
And that does have to go back to policy. And Mark, before we move on, one of the things that you and Mr. Kelleher talked about was the how the student is not shunned, but is still involved with the team. Could you just say a few words about that before we move on?
Sure. So if a student is ineligible to participate, per the, you know, CIAC or Fitch High School guidelines, there would still be a part of the program. They just would not be able to participate in any games, CIAC games.
So they would
They
still,
wear their uniforms?
Nope. Nope.
they would still be at practice and that sort of thing.
They can go to practice. Like I said before, you know, what I've seen is their teammates kind of also hold them accountable and kind of push them as well, where, you know, you've seen where, you know, kind of saying, hey, you know, we need you, come on, we, you know, and supporting them in that sense, also supporting them, you know, whether it's with homework or things like that. So I think keeping them involved in the team, keeping a thumb on them where the coaches are still keeping track of them as well, is a benefit to the student athlete. And instead of just saying, hey, you're ineligible, you know, hopefully you'll be eligible by the end of the season. And then there's no communication or contact with the coach at that time. Also, you know, we had this happen this past year where we had a student athlete ineligible during the fall season. And by keeping them coming to practice and stuff, once they were academically deemed eligible, they were able to participate at that point in time. The CIAC does have a regulation that says you have to have 10 practices of conditioning before you're actually able to participate in a game. So in this student athlete situation, if they were not consistently part of that program and practicing, they would have missed the entire season. But because of that, they were able to, once they got their grades up, they're able to then step on the field and participate at that point in time.
That's what I wanted everybody to hear, that it isn't just looking at grades, it's looking at the
Right.
child
Right.
and doing what's
Thank
right
you.
for kids.
Yeah.
Okay, moving along, and I'm glad we're gonna get that back, regulations or not. Okay, so the next one is Mrs. Volkman, I believe.
To approve, the motion is to approve policy P7551, naming of facilities as a first reading.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. So discussion,
Yes.
Rita.
Yeah, I really thought a couple of different things about this first paragraph. First is there another term for sub facilities? You know, it's just such an odd thing for, you know, I just, you know, I don't know. It just sounds like it's the facility, but it's not the facility. This could be a library. It could be a field that's, you know, like the door field, which is the high school field at the high school. I just don't like sub facility. And also where it says for persons who have attained prominence locally and or nationally, I think the example should not be listed, and then it should be a comma, and as well as local geographical landmarks. But to start identifying, you know, statesmanship, military achievement, political science, and early pioneers of the, you know, there's been so much that has taken place over the past years where, you know, names have to be changed. I think the more broader it says just locally, nationally, and geographical landmarks, the better.
And that's on the regulation side.
Yeah, but it's
So
right.
that's on the other side.
Well, no, it's right in the beginning, yeah, but I don't
It's
think
the
it should be
regulation.
there. I don't like that. I don't think it should be there at all, to have those you know, just to say those examples. And also that word sub facilities.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So you're saying that the, for example, is limiting the thought?
It is, it's naming things where you kind of have to, very specifically. And I don't think it should say military achievement, statesmanship, political science. I mean, why even give those examples? If you're talking about persons who have attained prominence locally and or nationally, or as well as a local geographical landmark, like we did for Mystic River and Thames River. But I just question listing all those things: outstanding presidents of the United States, pioneers of the community. I just don't think we should even list those.
Question for clarification.
Yes,
I'm not sure what we're reading. I'm looking.
I'm on the back
Dash
part.
B.
I'm sorry. I was looking at regulations on the back.
Okay. Got it.
And
So
then
we can absolutely take that out of regulations, but you'll be voting on the policy side.
we're going to vote the policy, but
Yeah.
also that word sub-facility, which I believe.
Sam, you're on here. Can you think of another way to call your facilities when we're talking about part of the building and not the whole thing, the whole school
Or portions thereof.
or portions thereof?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's schools and school buildings and portions thereof, indoor and outdoor.
That was Matthew, right? Again.
Right.
Thanks.
Yes. So Dean. Dean,
Yes, I just have to click a couple of buttons here. Yeah, I have my pet peeve is the de-emphasis, of the preference to people who have passed on, who have had who've made a contribution to education. I know we had a discussion before about Carl Cutler. I realize, my understanding is that the naming of a high school, that was Robert Fitch himself, Jr., was not necessarily a contributor, but was the son of somebody who was important, but nevertheless, that I personally would like to name schools after people who were educators, people who we consider to be standouts, starting in Groton, who's been, because otherwise they pass from memory. Frankly, if we don't put up in a transitory society, if we don't put up some sort of a monument or name something after somebody who was an outstanding teacher, principal, somebody who would, maybe if not universally, at least widely regarded as somebody important for Groton's school system, I think we're passing up an opportunity. You can always name something after Kennedy or whoever, but let's, can we, I'd like to focus on starting with our people. I think Carl Cutler, Jay identified Carl Cutler as somebody who had been important. I'm not promoting Carl Cutler, that's a whole nother story, but I would have a problem with eliminating the preference, starting with somebody important locally.
Oh, I'm not eliminating it. It just.
Oh, no.
says-
What I'm saying is
Locally.
on the policy, it's crossed out.
Right. Well, it is, yeah.
So I'd like to, and maybe it's just the wrong thing to have enshrined in the policy, but why not? We enshrine a lot of other things. So why not put it in semi-stone? That we would like to start with people who have made contributions to Groton's school system.
oh, Dean, can you clarify it for me? What would you like to see taken out specifically?
Well, not taken out, but I mean left in. If the school is named after a person, preference shall be given to the names of deceased persons who have made a significant contribution to education.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I would actually
But
That
we've
back-
talked
qualify
about
that by
two,
saying Groton education.
I don't know if you want to put the deceased part in there.
Well,
Right.
I understand. I remember when we named Catherine Kolnaski, when Catherine Kolnaski was with us.
Yes.
That, I'm not saying she's not, I'm just saying, at the time, there was a little bit of a stir. Hey, wait a minute. She's not even, she hasn't even passed yet. When do we start naming things after live people?
Well, and she
Oh.
actually was a great contributor to that school, would read aloud and was really part of that school community in the beginning when they got
I
started.
understand, but it's a deviation from usually we wait until they've,
Yeah, I
they're in
know.
the rearview mirror a little bit, then we name things after people. You can also make the argument you should name things after people while they're still alive, so they can, they can bask in the glory a bit before they leave the stage.
or that someone in the school community might know them, you know.
Yeah, I think if you take out deceased, then, do now enter the realm of politics, small p. That there's a fan club for somebody. I guess you could say that even if they're deceased. Maybe it doesn't make a difference, but I still would like to have a preference for Groton educators.
What if that part was put in the regulations so that we could say that, that we certainly could, name it after a person who's had a significant contribution to education.
Well, what I'd like to know is what everybody else thinks too. Am I just, I'm not stuck on this. I'm just throwing it out that that's one thing that I noticed is we've lined that out. And, maybe most of us would like to leave that in somewhere. But if not, then I'm alone, then don't try to satisfy me.
So what are the other comments for this as we consider either passing it or sending it back?
So
Well
I
said.
think there are two different things here. I think the beginning is to name a school, and that's what Dean's talking about. But in the regulations, it's talking about the sub-facilities, but not about the school building per se. It's kind of confusing.
I think maybe
So the second paragraph talks about the procedure for selecting a name for a school building.
The committee.
So what I'm hearing here is that there are a lot of questions and it really needs to go back and be refined. So I guess I'm going to call for a vote, correct?
Yes.
So all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Okay, so it's going back to policy. All right.
Oh, yes.
Am I up?
I think you are.
Okay. Motion to approve the field trip request to White Mountains, New Hampshire, scheduled for May 24th, 2023 through May 27th, 2023.
And I think that Seth Danner is here if he wants to speak to it.
I'm here.
You need a
Yes.
second first, though. You need a second.
Oh,
I'll second it.
I second.
thank you.
Second.
Sorry, thank you. So discussion, Seth.
You could start with me.
Well, I
So
think
I guess I'm just looking for approval. I don't usually do it this early in the year, but I've been doing this for quite some time and I got it done in advance this year. So we actually didn't run this program for a couple of years. We did it on a small scale during the second half of COVID, but we had to cancel all of it in 2020. So last year we ran the full program, several field trips around Connecticut, had started with 30 children in the program, which was way too many. That's all I can say. It was way too many. So keeping track of all that when we're walking around. By the time we ended up in New Hampshire, I think we took 14 or 15, which is an appropriate number. So still looking to do the same thing. We schedule maybe 4 or 5 field trips around Connecticut, all on Saturdays. A couple are on half days on Fridays. We go for the afternoon local stuff in Groton. Spend every Friday afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30 playing games and talking about hiking and doing preparation stuff and slowly build up stamina and confidence as we go along throughout the course of the year. We do our best to accommodate everybody. We have so much transition at our school that can be tricky. Last year, we added somebody, I think in late March or early April, and it was pretty much a big challenge because the group had already established, but he moved in and he was military. So I have a hard time saying no, but we worked through it, changed some things. So trying to accommodate all that stuff. So that's kind of where we are. We do the same thing. We change things every year. A new application process this year that they have to go on and pick some websites. We made it a little more web-based because we struggled with some of the writing. So we shortened some things up, trying to navigate that. So it was a little easier for those students that have difficulty writing, because that's not fair to them. So that's kind of where we are. Not looking to change a whole lot of things for this coming year. Not sure how many more years I'm going to run it because I'm getting old and tired. But I couldn't let COVID make me stop. That was that was an absolute no. So that's where we are.
Okay, other discussion. I see Mrs. Porter. No, Mrs. Porter, is your hand up?
Yes.
Okay.
Seth, I just had a quick question for you. Is this just for Charles Barnum kids?
Yes.
And has this ever been expanded to, or the idea is any of the other principals shown interest in creating this type of club? Because I think I look at something like this, I think it's a fabulous opportunity, but it's only for one of our 5 schools. And I just was wondering if anybody else has shown an interest.
CK has something that goes along, and I know that I've talked with Steve at Mystic. He'd like to get something started, not to the extent, but I have to say I get asked that question every year for the past, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. And the answer is pretty much the same. All of the schools have different opportunities for their kids. Not every school is identical. And this one just happens to follow me around because I'm the one that enjoys it. So wherever I go, that kind of follows me. And every school I've left, one school had hung around for a while, but most of the time it just goes away.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm Seth.
I think when Mr. Dana
I'm sorry, Seth. Sorry.
Oh, when Mr. Dana first started this, he was at Fitch Middle. And then I believe you were transferred when it closed to Cutler.
Yes.
And there was a program at Cutler, and then there was a teacher at Westside that also helped out, so that both our middle schools were involved in this. And then when you became principal of Charles Barnum, it went to Charles Barnum. So I think it's a fabulous program. And I have one little quick thing under pre-trip activities where it says meet for 2 hours each Friday night all year long. Do you mean 2 hours after school?
Yes. So from every Friday from 3:30 to 5:30.
Right. I think, because I think of that as not being in the night. I think of that as like late afternoon. It just seems like when I think of night, I think of, like 6 o'clock, at 6 to 8 or something like that. So maybe you can just put 2 hours each Friday afternoon or after school or something.
I can change that.
Yeah, but otherwise it's wonderful. And I'm so happy that you got it into us early. That's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So are we ready for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait a minute, Beverly's hand is up.
Oh, I don't see Beverly. I didn't.
Thank
I
you,
can't see you.
Liz. I was just gonna agree with Rita. This is a great program, and thank you, Seth, for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this the one that Kathy Wilson used to do also?
Yes, she did it with me.
Okay, yeah, good. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Because I can't see everybody across the board. I'm sorry, Beverly.
Fabulous. And you even did hike across Groton. I remember one year you had the parents come out for June for the Connecticut hiking day. And it was just wonderful seeing the kids and their parents doing.
That was a long time ago. I remember doing it, but I couldn't tell you when it was.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Well, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seth, for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes,
too.
thank you. I know, I'm usually on time and I'm way over, so let's get going here. So the next one is, I don't have anybody that I asked to do the motion, so Matthew, can you move the last
I
one?
would be honored. I move that we approve the out-of-district tuition rates for the 2022-2023 school year as presented in attachment 10.
Discussion.
I believe we had a discussion at our last COW meeting about all these rates that were presented to us.
Yep. Is there any other discussion? So then, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did we get a second?
Liz raised her hand. I think.
Oh,
she was
all right.
second.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the motion carries. All right. Moving on, letters and communication. So Liz, I know that you wanted to say something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're all aware, but I just wanted to recognize and to send our condolences as a board to the family of Eliana Palazzo. She was one of our smallest little members of our Groton Public Schools, and she passed away this past week. And so I just wanted to mention that. Her family is very close to that family, very sweet people. And I just wanted to let them know that we send our condolences.
Thank you, Liz. Jay,
I have no communications.
okay, Dean,
Again, I offer my apologies. I have had trouble getting into my email, and so if anybody sent me messages and I haven't responded, I crave your indulgence and your forgiveness. But I got it unlocked, so I'll be looking through it.
Beverly. No. Okay. Rita,
Yes, I wanted to mention the Groton Middle School video that was sent by Mrs. Austin. I thought it was wonderful. And also that I want to thank everyone who has applied, who has sent in their resumes for the Board of Ed position that is open. I'm happy to see people submitting their interest to this open position, and look forward to talking about it, I guess, in next month in August.
Matthew, did I call on you?
Not yet, but I'm waiting.
You're next.
I second what Rita just said, and I would encourage anybody who has any thought of possibly serving on the board to submit his or her application and attend the meetings. Thank you.
I haven't received any communications. Have I missed anybody? Okay, then moving on to future meeting dates. I think that's perfectly clear. Susan, do you have anything to say about that?
What
The meeting dates, yeah.
No, I think that we had moved some Monday dates, the policy and finance and facility, to Tuesdays because it worked better for the committee members. So I think that's just adjusting to our schedule.
Well then, Rita, I'm
Oh.
giving,
I'd like to make.
don't you ever do that again?
Should I make a motion to adjourn?
We need a
Second.
Okay,
Matthew.
well, good night. Thank you, everybody. This
Oh,
was long.
Thank you for facilitating, Dr. Ackerman.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
My pleasure.